Welcome back to the Super Not Funny Show Reviews. And today I'm reviewing Foundation Season 2, Episode 5, entitled The Sighted and the Seen. It's coming to you from Apple TV Plus. So, what did I think about it, and should you be watching? And before we get into the review, get down there, hit like on this video. Well, this is, I would say, a very momentous episode for Foundation. We've hit the midway point of this season, and things are really swinging, swinging, full speed ahead as far as the dual storylines going on Trantor and also out in the Outer Rim, where we find that Harry, Gaal, and Salvor have found the planet Ignis, and they're looking for the signal that they've been sort of tracing that's led them this far. They're trying to start the second foundation. Okay, cool. And it leads them to a planet that seems like there's nobody there, and yet somehow they run into a big old gang of people. And this big old gang of people are very formidable to the point of pretty much confirming what Harry had suspected, and also Gaal and Salvor had explained, that they have some kind of mental abilities. And this is a whole little civilization, I guess you could say, a whole little society of people with mental abilities. And there's a bit of switcheroo shenanigans that goes on, a little bit of an action sequence involving making people see what's not really there, and essentially having a bit of a quasi-religious encounter that really is more about encountering people who have the ability to screw with the mind. Mentalics, as they're called, and seeing the potential that they have for the universe. But there is a bit of a roadblock, and that Harry, Gaal, and Salvor don't really see, which is that the leader of this Ignis faction isn't really too interested in making the second foundation happen. And of course, because she is, psychic, and so is everybody else, they sort of read their minds about what's going on. So it'd be very interesting to see how they can sort of change the minds of the people there. Believe it or not, this is like the pretty simple and straightforward bit. I mean, obviously there's some interesting things where they're, sort of trying to get their footing, and there's a kind of a switcheroo bait and switch thing where the leader of the faction, we've come to find out that she sort of brought everyone there from around the galaxy. That people with mentalic capabilities are sort of either killed or shunned or whatever, and that also she references that Gaal went through something similar. So Gaal being brilliant and being sort of exiled from her, from Synax, wasn't because she was a brilliant mathematician and she was bucking the sort of quasi-religious society, but really it was more than that. Her mentalics really kind of set her apart and shunned her. So I found that all interesting. Again, this is a very straightforward bit. I'm sure laying the tracks for something later. The really interesting part of this episode was all of the politicking going on Trantor. We know that Day is trying to get married, to the leader, the queen, if you will, of a very big consortium of planets, more or less to prevent, I guess you would call, the more dissolution of the Empire. We know that the Empire has been sort of losing ground here and there, and we actually see later on in the episode when Brother Dusk is sort of talking to Brother Dawn about how things were happening in his reign that hadn't happened in hundreds of years, and that he wasn't a strong leader and didn't really take reins. And even if he had, who knows? Would this fall is apparently like a redwood tree falling. It's slowly happening, but it's inevitably happening. And we see kind of the cracks in this. We saw the cracks because the triumvirate Cleons aren't all, they're not genetically the same. There's genetic drift and all that sort of thing going on that's making them different. But we also see that that Day is obsessed with this whole deal with Queen Selene, and she is obsessed with trying to figure out if he was behind the death of everyone in her family that led to her being, in charge. And there's like a really awkward kind of like courting / sex scene that doesn't end in sex, and it really ends in accusations and everything like that. And also, I didn't notice it early on, but it sort of points to something that's a little insidious about the whole relationship that Day has with Demerzel. Like, Brother Dusk mentions that, Demerzel pacified the galaxy for him and just, sort of fought all the fights for him, taking his agency away, more or less. And we can also see the kind of the manipulative nature of Demerzel as she gives Day what he wants, but also sort of pushes things in certain directions. And you have to wonder, if you're a casual watcher of this, what is Day's whole, what's Demerzel's whole angle on this? I think to sort of keep things together, because it's clear the Cleons, if the early Cleons were really good at keeping the Empire on track, these later ones, especially after the genetic tampering, are definitely not doing the job. Day's whole obsession with getting married and having kids kind of speaks to that. And even more so when we see Dusk and Dawn talk to the sort of memories of Cleon the First and his very, forceful nature and everything. We can see the degradation of the Genetic Dynasty. And so I like that, and I like that there's a bit where they realize that someone's been tampering with their memories. It only came about because Day himself has sort of taken the step of explicitly being, talking about having the power to tamper. And Dusk and Dawn are really in a precarious position where they can't really figure out if they lost anything, because how would they know? What questions would they know to ask? And even Demerzel is not useful in this respect. And so now, palace intrigue has returned to Trantor, because now you have the Cleons who are, they are a triumvirate, and all triumvirates are stable but unsteady, in the sense that one loss means the tipping over of the whole situation. And it's clear that one of them is trying to tip everything over. But, and this is what I was saying about Demerzel before, there's also an implication when it comes to the memory audits that they got to see, that not just they maybe as doing memory erasure, that someone else, Demerzel probably, has been systematically tampering with the memories of every Cleon after the first one. And the Prime Cleon, even sort of hints at the fact that maybe this was part of the plan in the first place. There's a lot of stuff going on in this that one particular storyline is very intriguing. It's very interesting to me that Demerzel, we know Demerzel's been around for who knows how long. If you've read the books and you know who Demerzel is, it's a long, long time. And she set this whole thing up, presumably with Cleon. What was his plan? Presumably he's more, probably more brilliant. He's the prototype. He's the standard by which every other Cleon is set. What was the purpose of this whole thing, and how does it play into Demerzel's ultimate goal, being the person behind the throne? So I'm very interested to see how they play that all out. So just overall, this was a great episode. Like, if this is the midway point, they ramped it up just right. Lots of intrigue, lots of interesting developments, promise of future action, but also promise of just like some very, very huge ramifications for what everyone's doing. I suspect, I can't be sure, but I suspect by the end of this season, the Cleonic, genetic dynasty is going to come to an end, and either at the hands of Queen Selene or Demerzel herself, or by infighting between the three Cleons. I'm looking forward to it. I'm very interested to see how they play that all out. Like I said, overall, great episode. But anyway, what did you guys think about this episode? What did you think about what I had to say? Get down to the comment section, leave your thoughts there. And of course, you can always hit me up, supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com or at supernotfunnys1 on Twitter. And while you're down there, hit like on this video, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. All that good stuff helps to grow this channel so that more people can see these videos. All right, thanks for joining me. Come back. Next week, we're going to be talking about episode 6 of Foundation. Until then, I've been Mo, your commentator extraordinaire on all things pop culture. And I'll see you guys on the other side of the thread. Peace.